Hey, legends. Got a great episode here. I'm talking with Caleb Clark, the Chief Partnership Officer of Hook and Ladder Digital. Our conversation is ranging. It goes between the role of a marketer, how you build high performing teams, what does it look like to find your zone of genius, and how do you maintain your leadership to win the future over the long haul. You're going to love it. Let's get into it.
By default, a lot of people think that the future is something wildly different than what we've done in the past. But I think the future is a radical returning to what has been foundational in building and leading brands and building and leading teams and building and optimizing marketing systems. It's like we've become so obsessed, I think, with searching for something that hasn't been done yet.
Right.
But the reality is that humans have this thirst for, humanity-based things or things that once were, as compared to obviously the perfect example is AI. Like everyone just thinks that they gotta be on it and they gotta be doing stuff radically different than they were doing before to even have a chance. But winning the future is embracing both. It's like embracing cool, great, efficiency-based technology, but rooting that in what once was.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like winning the future cannot happen by forgetting the past abandoning the past. Yeah. I often think about, it's one of the reasons why we love the Brand Hall of Fame as like an angle of conversation at the gathering. We refer to like brand excellence. I think the best place to find those brand excellence is people or brands and stories that have managed to last a long time.
Yeah.
I always say, like, if you think the last 10 years have like been crazy, like think about what it was like to go through the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
Or think about like how globalization has changed the way that businesses have had to go to market. Like Levi's is a brand that was selling workwear and denim to railroad workers, and like similar with Carhartt, or Carhartt was like outfitting like the military and those kinds of things. And then all of a sudden there's 8 billion people that you can potentially sell to, and you can reach them instantaneously. It's like, yeah, we're going through quite a bit of change right now, but it pales in comparison to like a brand that's been alive for 150 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why Levi's is so interesting, right? Because they have, I think it's often said, right? The best way to figure out the future is to deeply explore the past, right? And Levi's, like, to the point where they have someone who leads the museum or the history component. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, it's a museum curator, or
And I had her on the show last season, and just, I think for me, the conversation with her opened up another realization that, the DNA and the blueprint for how to succeed in the future lies in the essence of what
has always been there.
Yeah, and it always boils down to fundamental human desires, right? Of like wanting to belong to something, wanting to be inspired by something. And so I think we need to be careful, right? Because we can't, in our radical pursuit of tomorrow, we can't forget that there's raw ingredients that humans both want and contributed to the growth in the first place. So,
and they're not going anywhere. Like we evolve much more slowly in like our sociology and our psychology than technology advances. Technology continues to advance at breakneck speed, but we still love community.
Yeah.
We still want, that's still like scratching that itch to belong.
Yeah.
We're still motivated by a higher purpose. We align with people whose values, or people, brands, stories, ideas that represent the values that we grew up with. And even I think there's an argument for like the epigenetic transference of values, like this, like there's like an underpinning to values that are like not unspoken, not taught. They're just inherited in the way you sit down for a meal or whatever it might be with your family.
Exactly. And I think based on that is like when we start skewing too far from that innate like chemistry of how we're built, what we're motivated by, we start to experience anxiety and uneasiness and not being and so I think the pendulum has swung so fast so far, and now it's going to be swinging back with velocity. So the brands that can like leverage the time efficiency granted to us by technology,
Sure.
AI, and then what you do with that time is the secret question. So if you can invest that time back into like understanding the customer value journey and the empathetic drivers or the emotional drivers. But I think a lot of teams are going to be realizing that time efficiency and then doing nothing with it other than just doing more. So
that's actually a really interesting point. Like, so I'll see if I can connect it with this. Like, I'd say major brands, at least publicly traded ones, are beholden to their quarterly results.
Yeah.
And I think like that 3-month cycle is a death spiral for most businesses. It's the kind of pressure and near-termism, like short-sighted decision making that causes brands to discount or do BOGOs or release crappier products on shorter sale cycles and those kinds of things. That sort of near-termism is fueled by the demand for returns this quarter, like returns every 3 months, and not just returns, but growth.
Yeah.
And I think what you just said is interesting. Like technology has been like tuned to facilitate that growth, but we get to a place where you're like, what if you thought about using it differently? What if technology didn't enable you to just grow? What if it enabled you to go deeper with your customers or to enrich the experience in other ways? And it's like, whether it's time back or money back, some other form of efficiency that's provided to you, are you just taking that extra and posting it on your quarterly results? Or are you taking that extra and saying, let's do better, let's connect more with who it is that we're trying to connect with?
And I've seen that. I mean, I've been spending the last few years just I have a love for marketing leaders and kind of grown to understand them, because if you think about it, on one side, the senior C-suite team has constant demands, right? And the marketer has this dream to create and build things of substance. And so these are two worlds that are oftentimes in conflict with each other. So I really admire the marketing leaders that, in the face of what's next, hit the new target, keep going, they have the confidence to slow down and invest in like unshakable foundation. When everybody, their colleagues, the industry, social media, their superiors are telling them, go faster, go harder, hit the next target, right?
Yeah. Well, I often think about it. Sometimes in these conversations, like I end up coming across sounding like an altruist or a communist or something like that. Like, I'm a staunch capitalist. But I think that sometimes we compete for the wrong things.
Yeah.
Like capitalism is about competition.
Yeah.
And there's really no way around that. But if all you're doing is competing on price, you're putting yourself in an early grave, or you're changing the nature of your business in ways that you don't necessarily understand or aren't intentional about. I think about like the place that we should be competitive, the place that we should be even with one another as we in a way that builds together, is to connect, is to compete to connect. There's a limited number of slots in everyone's brains for things that they care about.
Yeah.
Whether it's people, like I think that there's actually a fixed number of relationships you can maintain at various levels of intimacy. There was a study done on it that I can't remember the name of, but it's something like 3-12-80 or 3-12-70 or something like that, in terms of the total number of relationships you can meaningfully manage. It's similar with brands. Like, I can care about the brands that I care about. I can't care about every brand that I interact with. I don't care about my paper towel.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's just paper towel. Hopefully it's decent. Like I don't care about my toothpaste the same way that I care about my coffee mug or like the clothes that I wear and that kind of thing. So what brands should really be trying to do, I think, is to compete for that slot in someone's brain where they say, I care deeply about McDonald's, or I care deeply about New Balance sneakers, or whatever the thing is. Like that's what we're competing for. It's not like New Balance is competing against Nike. You're actually competing for the real estate in someone's brain.
And the only way to do that, to have someone say, I care deeply about this, is you gotta be about something, right? Like
correct. Yeah.
Because if you're trying to be about everything with the ambition to have deep, meaningful connection with everyone, it's kind of like you speak to everyone, you miss everyone.
You can't, if you're everything to everyone, you're.
But this is what I mean for these marketing leaders who understand this to be true, but they're being held accountable by, so in some cases, vanity-based, like mass reach, mass awareness. So there's a juxtapose there that really, and that's why marketing leaders that have the bravery to chart the course towards being about something, being for certain segments of people, should be applauded, because the noise is unrelenting in terms of more followers, more growth, more engagement, whatever, right?
Yeah, that's so interesting, man. That I think one of the other things that makes me think of is, whether you're for something or against something. I think that there was like a season where a brand could be against something, their core call to action, their core mission, the way that their purpose came to life was in opposition to something else. We had a lot of brands that really jumped on this sort of almost like a protest, like a brand as a protest, and using connecting in a social way to scale that message with other people who also care against something. Right. I think that there's a fundamentally different shift between a story for something versus a story against something.
Exactly.
And it might be a seasonal thing, but I think we're way over on the other side now. Like I think the stories that I see that are winning are about they don't define themselves in contrast to something that exists. They define themselves out of something that they're trying to build.
Yeah. So here's a perfect example. I was talking about this with a colleague last night. We were reminiscing about last year we went to the Yeti documentary,
Oh yeah, the film night. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was funny, like me and a client of mine and then 3 colleagues were sitting in the row, and me and this client were watching Yeti. Like I'm 37, he's I think maybe 47, 10 years older. We're watching this thing and we're just like entranced, right? Like it's like, oh my God, looking at each other like this is amazing. And we didn't check in with the colleagues, but until after. So we get up and we're leaving and we're just talking about it, like, oh, that was amazing. That struck me so hard, and blah, blah, blah. And we're talking all the way back to the car. And we think that the Gen Z sort of younger female colleagues that we were with were kind of picking up what we were throwing down and had the same experience.
Right.
We get all the way back to the truck and we just pouring our hearts out on this 10-minute
and how much it connected with you.
We get to the truck and we say, finally, Robin, my client, says, so what do you guys think? And she like blows a big bubble. She's like, I hated it. It was unbelievable, because right in that moment, it's like, you're supposed to hate it, but Yeti's not pushing, hey, we're against you. They're just speaking to Robin and I. And by virtue of that, you're going to cause division, but division is what you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because
I think divisions kind of, people divide into, they sort themselves. Yeah. But I think like, I don't know why the example is in my head is like, do you remember Coney 2012?
No.
Oh, it was just Coney. It was just the worst example of like an early viral social campaign. It was basically like a social campaign against an African warlord. He was a very bad character. He did a lot of evil things. But this was like a social campaign that somebody in North America launched to be like, we have to find this guy and bring him to justice. And it was like one of the first things I remember going viral. And it was like a digital manhunt basically, like for this not random, but kind of random dude in Africa that I had never heard of. You've never heard of. Like that's how he's not like the leader of a country.
Real or fictitious?
Oh, real.
Okay.
Fully real. Like millions of people jumped in on this thing and everyone was like, we got to do something about this. Like I think they were to a degree, I think people are sometimes like starving for a purpose. They're looking for I think that there's a undercurrent in our society of like listlessness, or what do I exist for? What am I attaching myself to, and that kind of thing. But those sorts of things are just like, they're negative, non-constructive or deconstructive. Like they just tend to be in like the opposite direction of building something new. Obviously, this is like a very weird example to pull from, but
yeah, well, you're right though. It unearths, maybe unintentionally so, unearths an emotion of negativity, and that might be the thing that lingers. That when you think of that brand, the only thing that registered is negativity, right? Or something, right? And that, going back to like the early days of advertising strategy, it was either like you got to be inspirational or you got to be fear-based,
right?
And fear-based is just, I don't know, it's not working.
Yeah, and it worked for a while. It like in my past life and like an agency I used to work for, we had one of the things we would do is produce these sort of like anthemic anchor documents for our clients, where we called them manifestos. This is the
North Star.
The North Star is the dramatic sort of script of why we exist and what's the difference that we're going to make in the world. And like, I don't know if it's a generational thing with like who is at the helm of our clients, but they're for a long time, those were, for lack of a better term, divisive narratives.
Yeah.
And then our clients started changing. I suspect it's generational. I suspect that we kind of stopped. We were in like a Gen X leadership, and we tried to transition into some millennial leadership on the client side of the equation. And all of a sudden, our approach to those anthems stopped landing. Like we would have like crickets in a room after we present them. Yeah. Previously, people were crying. Now we've got people who are like, that doesn't move me.
Yeah.
I don't want our brand to be like that. It's not the tone that we want. Yeah. That's not the thing. And I think what they were trying to say was like, I don't want to be non-constructive. I want to actually build something. I want to go, I want to create something that makes a difference rather than just fight against something that's holding us back or hurting us or whatever it is. Yeah. And we had to like completely recalibrate our approach in a major way to be able to say, okay, we have to find, this is a new way, it's a new structure to tell the stories that our clients were asking us to tell.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, change. So like, what are you seeing with brand and marketing leaders today as it relates to understanding and embracing? Like, what does change mean?
Yeah, what does change mean? I mean, I always kind of think about you have two positions relative to change that you can have in as a business leader. You can be at the mercy of it, or you can be the instigator of it. Yeah. It's much better to be the instigator. Yeah. That doesn't mean that we all need to become like AI companies, because that's the fastest place of innovation that we see. Like change is happening all over the place. Yeah. There's certain things that get like brought up into the zeitgeist that everybody's aware of and everybody has, massive widespread impact and influence. But like you can look at it under any rock, you can talk to any CMO, you can go into any industry right now, and you will find tons of change. And it doesn't all just come back to the fact that we're using ChatGPT. It's like changes like how consumers are leaning in, changes how consumers are or audiences are consuming media, changes in those sort of generational psychology turnovers where like Gen X, millennials are different than Gen X, and Gen Z is different from millennials, and just the preferences and the language and communication is different. Yeah. So I always think I went through a period of time where I was like, we're on the cusp of something. Like I didn't know what to do. It was very clear that things are moving fast and there's some acceleration that's happening and all. But I think at the end of the day, if you look at it, it's always been changing. It's never not been changing. There's that saying, change is the only constant. Yeah. So I think the difference that I see, the difference maker in leaders that we talk with and with brands that we interact with, and even, you know, when we think about who we want to put on the platform at the gathering every year, we want people who are expressing themselves as a driver of change and as an influencer of change, rather than as a subject, people that are subject to it. I think sometimes, like, when you get and you platform, like, AI is just the one that always comes up, so let's just run with it. Like, when you platform like AI, people who are like deep down that rabbit hole and know way more than I do about it, to them it's the only thing. They kind of have tunnel vision on it. It's the only thing that they're thinking about. And then the stories that they inevitably tell are about what's going to change, what is going to come, and all that kind of thing. And it puts you in, when you listen to that, when you dial into it, I think it just puts you into a passive position. It's a very dangerous spot to be when things are moving fast. It's much better to be like very crystal clear on what your mission is, and being the instigator of the change that you want to see, however small or grand you can express yourself in that way. I think it's like, that's what you're competing for. That's what you're trying to grow for. But I think that when I think about change, it's those two attitudes that seem to come to mind for me about like how we think about the future and how we think about what's happening in the world around us has got a huge influence on whether we succeed or how we succeed.
Totally. And you know, as business and marketing leaders, a lot of times we're playing for tomorrow, or we're playing based on yesterday, and very rarely are we playing for today, because you got to remember, our consumers are living today.
Right.
Like, their emotional drivers and what influences them to purchase something or to have an experience is influenced by their world around them primarily today. They're influenced a little bit by fear or want for tomorrow. But how do we keep one foot in the tomorrow and 1 foot firmly planted in today? And as a brand, I think the best brands are the ones that are embracing that balance best. They're saying, we're aware of tomorrow, but we're making decisions based on a sense of presence today and now. And that's what I'm talking about, with people want like a return to humanity. And if humanity is based on presence, and that's what we need as a group of people to kind of heal through all this anxiety, is what is true now. You know, this table is here, so, and that, again, I keep going back to these brave marketing leaders who are listening to all the demands to be better for tomorrow, but understanding that we need feet planted in today, because that's where our customers are on their journey. And a lot of them, like, we're making a hypothesis as a marketing leader about what's going to be true tomorrow, but that's very low likelihood that it's going to be accurate for our customers where they are today. Why not increase our chances of resonating by taking stock of what's going on now?
It's the best, the most successful brand builders have high empathy, I think. They have the ability to snap out of their worldview and put themselves in the shoes of their customer and say, what does it look like for them? And I think that's a practice we should all embrace for whoever our audience is, whatever our product is. You know, if you're selling Krispy Kreme donuts, if you're the marketing team behind a store launch or behind brand communications and whatever, guaranteed you think about AI 100 times more than your customer does. Your customer's thinking about donuts occasionally, but they're driving to work. They're, you know, maybe they work in construction. Maybe they're a stay-at-home mom. Maybe they're a teacher. Maybe they're an administrator or a bureaucrat or whatever it might be. But marketing has this, whether it's good or bad, I'm not sure, but this predisposition to innovation, because I think we've just been asked to constantly innovate and do more, bring more to the table and that kind of thing, whether it's quarterly results or whether it's just disrupting an industry or the challenger brand and that kind of thing. Your customer is not like that. In most industries, your customer is not like that. Your customer is concerned with the things that they're concerned of, the price of gas, what are they going to eat, what are their kids doing well at school, you know, their relationships, they're thinking about their weekend plans. They're very human. Like, people are very human. But when we only have our marketing hat on and we're not like flexing that empathy muscle, I think it's very easy to get too focused on what's coming next as opposed to living in today.
Totally. When you said that, I was thinking like, well, why do marketers feel that they need to be so cutting edge in tomorrow? Because I think I've seen, and based on the numerous conversations I've had with marketing leaders on my show, I see a common theme showing up is that there's a bit of a sense of anxiety amongst marketers that they know at the table they're seen as the cost center, right? And so when you walk around feeling like you're a cost center, the only way I think to get past that is like, well, we got to keep delivering. We got to do more, as compared to the ones that I've seen doing it the best, based on the sample size of both clients and guests on the show, is that they're rooting themselves so deeply in the business case, and then their marketing plans are reverse engineered from the thing that everyone at the table cares about, right? And this journey and push to aligning what they're doing as a predictable profit center as compared to a unjustified cost center. You know what I mean?
This would be true of marketing in an organization that would define it as like lead generation, traffic generation, whether that's physical, it could be like customers coming into a store or customers going to a website, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I mean, aligning yourself to a business case doesn't always have to be purely just in the attribution category. Like a lot of people would say, well, this only makes sense for e-commerce or something where we can drive a direct correlation.
Sure.
But, there's business case around the awareness stage of the journey as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the marketers that have their eye set on what needs to be true within our awareness stage of the journey so that we are tangent or parallel with what the business needs and desires at that point. How can we change our KPIs from, reach, impressions, engagement to, you know what I mean? Like it's.
I do. So I struggle with it a little bit. Sometimes I think we put sometimes I think we're talking about marketing with a lowercase m versus a capital M.
Yeah.
And like capital M marketing is your product first.
Yeah, totally.
It's like it doesn't.
And the experience you give.
And the experience, right? Yeah. It's not necessarily the minutia of a transaction.
Yeah.
But I think it's really in an organization that views marketing as a cost center.
Yeah.
That's like the marketers are forced to justify their existence via
transactional things,
KPIs. Yeah. Things that I can measure, things that we can put on a spreadsheet, plot on a chart, and hopefully show it going up and to the right sort of thing. But like you're leaving 80% of marketing as a discipline on the table when you go about it that way. And it's nothing to say like, because I know a lot of what you help your clients with is like the actual performance of their business, like the actual ability to grow their business, which has to be measured. You can't just imagine growth.
Yeah.
But do you guys look at it from like a holistic perspective?
Totally
like
holistic. That's what I'm arguing for, right?
Yeah.
It's that even in the scenario where, a lot of the work we do is in the scaling of something that's already proven on a small list.
A product that's got some proof.
We can't be effective as performance marketers without understanding the broad swatch of this value journey that people are going through, from first hearing about them and that visceral experience they've had,
right,
to all the way through to purchasing, where we're playing a lot of role in, but into the stages of being mobilized as advocates, right? If you're not looking at it holistically, and that's what I'm arguing for, is marketing leaders need to take the tunnel vision away from all of the execution-based, attribution-based things, and explore the entire journey that somebody has, that 70% of it is not measurable, right?
Yeah, and in many cases, like only 10% or less happens is online, or like any kind of like track. You can measure like store, like a retail, like like how good was your week? Like
Yeah.
like the revenue that a store has on a week over week or year over year basis. Like those things are measurable and valid. But like even that, I feel like gets compartmentalized to a different part of an organization. So often it's not marketing anymore. That's like that's retail or whatever it is. That's the different team.
Yeah.
And so you get like this smaller and smaller sandbox that marketers end up playing in, and like building their dashboards around and spreadsheets around, and showing the results and justifying that they exist and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good.
No, but that's what I think a lot of marketers feel that they need to do to overcompensate for this belief they have that they're seen as a cost center, right? And so that's the perceived the perceived seat or lack of seat we have at the table influences scarcity-minded and short-minded decision-making. But the best marketing leaders that I've just spoken to and learned from is like they're slow, they're calm, they're looking at the holistic picture, they're understanding how everything they're doing contributes to one component of the overall business ethos, and competing internally for an understanding, a shared understanding that we're not going to measure our impact through meaningless, KPI based things.
So. Yeah. Something I think about in that sort of like the role of a modern CMO is like my argument for their influence to be more pervasive would be that if you compartmentalize your communications, the primary storytelling engine of your organization into digital channels only, let's say. You've got your social, you've got the e-com, you've got, your campaigns that are out there, maybe some out of home and some more traditional media as well. You compartmentalize it into that box and say, do your thing, just to make sure you come with your report, and otherwise, we'll be cleaning house, next quarter or whatever. At the same time, you've got your customer service, you've got your product design, you've got your distribution team that's making choices around like fulfillment and all of these kinds of things. All of those other aspects of the business, which is like 90% of the business is not communicating. It's actually doing in most cases. If you're saying something here that isn't getting reinforced in an experience over here, that creates cognitive dissonance in your customer. Sometimes that cognitive dissonance is very sharp, recognizable. Even someone in your audience could bring it to, they could vocalize it. Other times it's very subtle and they couldn't bring it to words, or it'd be very challenging to bring it to words. But the truth of the matter is that we avoid cognitive dissonance like the plague. We don't like it. It's the uncomfortable feeling in our brain, and we do whatever we can to resolve it, remove it, avoid it, forget it, ignore it. All the things you don't want somebody to do about your brand. So I think my argument for like whether it's capital M and like the marketing, the CMO needs to be in every product design meeting. I don't think that's the case, but I do think that the marketing team has to have an influence across the overarching experience for even internally for your staff and all of those kinds of things. Because when we think about like that overall journey from awareness down all the way through to conversion and then into advocacy, if you don't have one story resounding in the marketplace, in your staff rooms, in all your partnership calls, all the agencies that you work with, whatever it is, if it's not one story, it's nothing.
Exactly.
It's going to have no impact.
And the modern day CMO, I agree with you. I think that's their job is ultimately to be a steward and an advocate for ensuring that what is true internally is true externally.
Yeah, totally.
There's balance. And then any leader's job at the end of the day is to get the right people in the right seats operating in their zone of genius to ensure that that balance is true. And then the communication of that balance is then consistent. You get into the small m stuff.
Yeah. Then you get small m and small everything else too. Like all the other departments have their KPIs too, the things that they're measuring.
Yeah.
It's certainly not I think sometimes this conversation has like, as I've heard it elsewhere, has like resolved in like, well, should marketing just be like unaccountable then? Like, should it just be not at all. Like everyone's got KPIs. We have to measure ourselves. It's part of performance is measurement.
Yeah.
Is that car faster than that car?
Yeah.
Let's find out. Like,
yeah, we're marketing guys, right? So we're biased, and I think marketing sits at the core of the organization. It's the glue that ties technology and finance and operations and leadership together, and make sure that there's a check and balance between what is
decisions
true.
and what's true and what's not true.
And playing a critical role in providing feedback into these other or departments in the organization about what are the customers telling us is true about us, and or what do the customers want, and having that obviously inform and influence. And obviously, great companies do that. They lean heavily on external validation but I think the argument is to maybe what you're saying is right, is that marketing leaders that are pursuing greatness just need to, better embrace big M than
big M thinking.
Small M.
Yeah, at least the big M thinking. Like work cross departmentally. Like we had a group that brought out a significant amount of their leadership team to the gathering last year, and then right after the gathering, we helped them put together a cross department, kind of like an all hands meeting.
Yeah.
Where the folks that were at the gathering came back and shared their story. And it was the marketing team, there was the data team, there's a couple of other folks that were in there, but the people who were at the all hands were up and down the organization. There's maybe 100 people in the room.
Yeah.
And what the best, they had a great time at the gathering. They got a great return out of attending the summit. But the best return that the organization got was when everybody from a non-marketing, non-brand background sat down and listened to the things that they heard and saw, and they heard it and they received it in a way that they could say, well, that's how that would come to life in my department, which handles, our B2B vendor relations, or our, the trucking routes.
That's
for
one of the best part about the gathering is a lot of people you talk to, you'd expect, like, other marketing conferences, of which there are many great ones, but you go to those conferences and everybody is a coordinator, manager, director, CMO, or graphic designer. They're in the marketing world, right? Go to the gathering, it's like operations guys, technical guys, girls, and there's an injection of inspiration, and then a result of empathy and understanding.
Yeah.
And then you come back on fire to lean into the relationship with your marketing leadership.
Yeah.
So I think the best thing a marketing leader can do is they bring people to the gathering that have no deep previous experience to what it means to build sustainable, long-lasting brands, and how does that influence. Like, you take everybody on the stage at the gathering, they're talking not about like campaigns a lot of the time. They're talking about like operational penetration and immersion of all the different cross.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And even, leadership, right? Like it's how we took an idea and made it true.
Yeah.
Rather than made it lip service to, like, so many campaigns end up just being lip service to an idea rather than like you said, immersive. Like, how do you take that concept and make it, bring it to life across all these different facets in a business? That's such a fun activity, whether it's just a thought experiment or whether it's like the next great revolution in your business. It's so rewarding to think about, like, okay, if our story is this, then what is that? How does that reflect into these different disciplines within an organization? Right. It's and the brands that tune that, those are the ones that win.
Totally.
You mentioned sustained relevance, or just like in what you said there, and I wanted to, maybe this will switch gears a little bit, but one of the things that we're talking about at the gathering this year is human performance. I think it's become clear over the past number of years, that there is the demands on our performance as marketers or as business leaders in our organizations are not going to reduce. The demands seem to be another one of those up and to the right things. Like, you're always going to get asked to do more, find ways to do, whether it's more with less or just like breaking through in new areas. I think for a period of time, something I've observed, and certainly something I've experienced, is that the chosen path to confront those demands has been to work harder, or grind it out. It's kind of like that hustle culture mentality and that sort of thing. I've seen and known a lot of people who've experienced burnout over the course of the last several years, let's say. And it's not like they just burnt out. It's like it's been a decade of trying to do more consistently in a sort of a singular mindset or singular approach, and finding, oh, that's not the path. That's not the way that it's going to go. So sustainability of leadership is a big focus of our conversation in human performance. This idea that, like, if you are the leader that you think you are, and I hope you are, for everyone who's listening, like, I hope that you are the leader that's going to be the next big thing. That's well, the gathering is here for that.
Yeah.
You're not going to be it if you burn out next year. You're not going to be it if you burn out in 3 years. The best of the best of the best find ways to show up consistently. Always in a high performing way, but manage to keep that going without burning out, giving up, quitting, whatever it might be. So that was a long preamble to say that's one of the conversations we're having at the gathering. And one thing I was really interested in chatting with you about was like how you do it personally as a leader, but also how you kind of build that in your team. Because I know you guys as a team in your company have like some really interesting rituals, ways of like investing back into your team members and bringing more out of them, not by like cracking a whip, but by inviting them to the table. So maybe you could just talk about, like, what do you think about sustainable human performance?
Yeah. I think that, and based only on the experiences I've had in life, is that people often burn out when they're spending a large part of their day and career doing things that they weren't born to do, right? Like you're a generalist operating in 4 out of 5 areas, but you're a specialist in one of them. You got to do all 5 to justify the role. But people come alive when roles are built around them as compared to people put into roles. And so at the end of the day, humans want to have a linear understanding about what I do on a day-to-day creates what impact, right? But when you're spending a majority of your day doing things that you can't see the impact you're making only because it was arbitrarily defined in a job posting, you burn out because there's lack of fulfillment. When you're doing the thing you were built to do, your zone of genius, then doing more work fulfills you more. It doesn't drain your battery, it fills your battery, right? Like if you have, for example, someone who is just born to be an SEO specialist, but they're being asked to do advertising and email and design, those things deplete their battery, their reserves, which ultimately burns out. But if you ask that SEO specialist to just do more SEO, that builds them up because that's what they're built to do. That's what they desire to do, right?
So you guys build a team. That's like one of your...
our whole thing is teams, because like I think early on we came to understand that you can stop one person, but you can't stop a team of people where their roles were built around their unique set of strengths and expertise, and they're brought in. So one of the couple things that happened early on is we got introduced to this concept called the Great Game of Business, which is kind of an operating system similar to EO or what Traction, etc. But it's based on 3 things. So the first is you open up the financial statements to everybody on the team so that they have an understanding of
how the business
works.
Right.
But then number 2 is you teach them to be financially literate, like how to understand and read business financial statements. And number 3, you attach a stake in the outcome to the profit. So if you have a bunch of people who are empowered with all the information on how business works and how their area of expertise or where they work on every day, how it impacts the bottom line, and then you give them a piece of the action on the bottom line, now all of a sudden you don't have leadership and employees, you have a whole team of owners, right? And there's certainty around, hey, if I operate in my zone of genius, I execute my thing with consistency, with joy every day, I get to share in the benefit of that, right? And so the only way to be sustainable is to stop doing the things you weren't born to do, right? Stop being a generalist in a scenario now where specialists are needed.
Right.
People that get to just do what they were born to do.
Right. So that's interesting. I think when you like building an agency or building a marketing department, it's similar, right? Like it takes a whole bunch of different skill sets, a whole bunch of different zones of genius to sort of overlap in the right ways.
Yeah.
How do you go about, like, do you design the system first, or do you find like the right culture fits and then try to like build a role around them? Like sometimes it sounds like when you talk about that, you're like, okay, well,
yeah, it's both. You got to find so you find the people that have raised their hands that say, I am an SEO specialist. And then you go through the cultural thing on top of that.
Yeah.
But so our whole business is around building teams for companies, and every company in their marketing department, they have one or two solid people, and they have a zone of genius, but it's not been unearthed because they need to do everything.
All these things.
Right. So the first step is to find those people at the company and say, what do you love to do? I love to do email. What do you love to do? I love to do social. Okay, you guys are the email and social people. But now that leaves a whole gap of execution stuff
on these other areas.
Yeah.
And then that's where
so you plug the specialists in there. And then that team operates as one group, all in pursuit of the same North Star. And you start to see when people are living in their area of expertise and they're fulfilled by the work they do, 1 + 1 = 8, right? And the other thing is that if you're an A player and you're being asked to do everything, you turn into a C or B player, and that slowly starts demoralizing you. But if you're an A player and you're put in your zone of genius and you're surrounded by other A players, you rise. Right? It's like in sports, whenever we would play a bad team, we would always play like shit because we're
playing down,
right? But when you're surrounded with A players or you're playing an A player team, everybody rises. Right?
Yeah.
So for the marketing leader today, it's like they have a vision of what they need to get done, but their biggest constraint is resource constraint, right? People not, being fulfilled by the work they do. They're burning out because they're being asked to do things that they don't like doing.
Man, that's a very, very interesting approach. And like, I think sometimes I don't, like, if I'm fully honest, sometimes I have a chip on my shoulder about the agency business model, the typical agency business model. Because it's you're a staffing company. Like you're just staffing for other organizations until they don't need you anymore or something like that. But that's not what you're describing. What you're describing is almost more like organization. Well, not almost, it is organizational optimization. Like you're going to take this department, we're going to optimize it using the resources and talent and A players that you already have.
Yeah.
Let's fine tune them. Let's get them plugged in where they're supposed to be and backfill, support, bolster the systems elsewhere where it needs to be. It's a different reason for being as like a partner than
it's unearthing something that exists. It's like I think a lot of professional service companies come in and say, we're going to fix this dog's breakfast.
Yeah.
I'm arguing is that there's genius in this team, but
otherwise it wouldn't exist.
Yeah. So how do we get the most out and then backfill the air? And like, that's why, we don't ever have contracts with our clients because like we're either they're adding value or we're not. And we're not gonna sign you up for a 12-month term for no reason, right?
Right. You're not a cell phone company.
But because these teams that we deploy, they have a team that we deploy can only work with 3 or 4 clients max. So it allows them that time to not just be like hired hand execution people, but like become a very deep fabric of the team, right? And so, people are great when they're allowed to do what they were born to do, and they're surrounded by other people that are fulfilled in the thing they do, and it rises all boats,
Yeah, that's very cool. What about you personally? Like you've been in the game for a long time, and I've always just respected you as a steady guy. Like you're every time I see you, every time I get together with you, or we have a conversation, you're always Caleb. Like I don't see a bunch of different versions of you. You're not up and down. you're a pretty high performing individual. So what are some of your personal practices? Like how do you show up at your best performance as an A player every time you turn on the laptop in the morning or whatever it is?
Sometimes it's hard. It's obviously there's like the fitness and the food and all that kind of good stuff. But recently, over the last couple of years, I've been introduced and became quite obsessed with this idea of not thinking about tomorrow and not worrying about yesterday, but very meditation focused practice of my days. So, I start with an hour meditation in the morning, and just remembering that nothing is permanent. Everything will change. All that's important is, right here and now. So it's simple in theory, but meditation is a very, very demanding practice, right? Like it takes a lot of work. It's not going to sleep or just closing your eyes. So I just kind of try to like be here now type thing.
Every day.
And that's it makes it a lot easier to just kind of be at your best, because you can easily tackle the thing in front of you. It's very hard to tackle the thing in front of you when you're influenced by the 10 things that are coming tomorrow or next week. And and a lot of the influential business leaders and marketing leaders I talk to, they share a lot of that. It's just like there could be chaos all around them, right? But it's just they've embraced the fact that you make your impact looking at the table in front of you. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that resonates with me. I've always been big on goals.
Yeah, and I think goals are for losers, because if you set a goal, every day you don't hit that goal, you're a loser.
Yeah.
Direction.
Yeah. So, okay. I think we're on the same page there. I'm like,
yeah. No, I say that because that my meditation coach always says, like, hey, I got these goals. And he says, Caleb, South African guy, goals are for losers.
Yeah. Why. I think direction is what I think there was a period of my life where my goals were, you try to write a SMART goal and whatever, all these things. And then you try to pick yourself up when you don't hit it. Cause you like, if you're setting a stretch goal, like if you're setting a goal and you're setting 10 goals and you're hitting all of them, my argument is that you probably haven't pushed yourself hard enough. Yeah. But it took me a long time to sort of get to this place where my goals became directional as opposed to like deadlines and that kind of thing. It kind of maybe ties back into what we're talking about, KPIs and all that sort of stuff. You still need to be able to measure it. I think it's really important to have a good idea about where you're headed.
Definitely.
I always struggled though with this, like to do that, you're living in the future. You're not actually here in the moment. You're contemplating the next thing always. And sometimes the curse of leadership is that have to somewhat keep your head in the future. Like you're in that navigation role. At least you're like looking outward. Yeah. But like bringing that, maintaining that sort of like drive and effort and initiative for what you're trying to achieve with like that very oneness that today, being present in every moment and that kind of thing. Do you just divide your time, or do you just set time where like this is the time where we are today is thinking about the future, and then when we're done with that, we're back to work?
It's like golf. I think of golf a lot. It's like, what's your next best shot? So we know the direction is that way, and you've got to put the hole in the cup eventually.
Right. But
like,
so sometimes you shank it.
Your direction and your goal should influence your activities on a day-to-day basis. And if talking about consistency, if you can just tackle that very small activity and those pile up,
you're assured of
that's how you're consistent.
Progress. Yeah.
So we're always inconsistent when our activities are too much influenced by yesterday and tomorrow. Because then we're chasing something. We're either running away from something or we're chasing something. The goalposts always shift. But if the goal influences the activities by themselves in isolation are very easy to accomplish.
Yeah.
And you stack them up thing by thing. And then you look back to validate, oh man, I've been going in the right direction the whole time, which breathes more life into being present.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I love the golf analogy. I'm not a golfer, but I can pick up what you're saying. It's like sometimes you're using a driver.
Yeah.
but you wouldn't use your driver on the
Right.
green. Like when you have a different instrument as you get closer to something,
Yeah.
you're taking different, more precise, more careful actions as you try to actually get to the end result. But like at the beginning, it's directional. Like I don't, is the flag on the right side of the green, left side of the green?
And then when
It's
you
not
get
really
to
my
that,
skill set. It's not really
and when you
caring.
get to that next day, the whole scenario has changed. So that's why embracing
Yeah.
the next, what's the next best decision I can make?
That you can make.
Micro decision. And then
Right.
that changes the game again. And if you're always just like recalibrating with a focus on today based on the scenario of that you see in front of you, you're going to jostle your way to the end zone.
Yeah, you'll get there. Yeah, we're smashing every sports analogy we can. Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. That's cool. I like that. I like that idea. Goals are for losers. It's interesting. I think I'm gonna have to ponder
change
that.
it. Goals are for losers. Direction is for winners. Or something.
Yeah.
But I think you get the point. It's like we
Yeah.
tie too much to either. It's a binary. Like I either accomplished it or I didn't. So at the end of the game, I'm either 50% a winner or a loser. But
Right.
every day up until that determining yes or no, I'm a loser because I haven't hit it.
Because I haven't hit it yet.
You know,
Yeah. And nobody likes you winning. You're not winning as a loser.
Right.
You're not
showing up as your best. You're not,
Yeah.
So anyways, that's, and to keep in mind, like when I was earlier in my life, when I was playing football, in university and big tough jock guy, like someone came to me and said, you should be meditating. I'd be like, get the hell out of here. Like, so it's a interesting journey, right?
Yeah, totally. Man, that's awesome. Well, so one of the questions that we've been asking and just kind of keeping a record of as we've gone through the year here, we events are interesting because you do have a goal. It's to do a good job at the Gathering Festival in October. Like it's got to be an incredible experience. You got to get the right people in the room, make sure that the right connections are being made. So we've got a whole bunch of goals associated with like pulling that off. Our end zone is very clearly defined. But as we've moved closer to it, it's always interesting because you start out with this ambiguous idea of next October, and you're not really thinking about the specifics of what it's going to be when you're in November. Mm-hmm. We start our planning even before we get to the year, oftentimes. Sure. But as we move through the year, it gets clearer and clearer. You get closer to it. You can see it. You can see it more clearly. You can see where the pin is on the green and that kind of thing. But one of the questions we've been asking everybody through the whole year is, hey, our theme is winning the future together. It's this idea of let's set a optimistic, positive trajectory for what the future looks like. And we know that winning is not an individual, like business, not an individual sport. It is a team sport, as you pointed out. So these victory is going to be achieved together. But curious to hear your take on it. Like when you hear winning the future together, what does winning the future look like to you? How do you look at it for yourself personally? How do you look at it for your business?
I think a lot about like winning together requires this like mindset of abundance, of things that will show up in all these random ways, versus winning alone is we do that because of our scarcity mindset, right? It's like, how can I share my tips and secrets with a whole bunch of people and expect that to yield a win for me? I think that's what our saboteur is telling us in our mind.
Right.
But if we lead into this idea that we can create magic through the perspectives and sharing with others and just being in the same presence of other people, and the result of that is going to be 10 times better than what you can accomplish alone, right? Like you can stop one person, but you can't stop a team of people. And tomorrow demands people to collaborate and work together and own their piece of the pie or to operate in their area of specialization. But if we start moving away from this, which I encourage us all to do, moving away from this like generalist culture to the specialist culture, we're going to need to rely on people that have their different strengths, right? That might mean for an agency a lower billable for a month, but it creates so much more color and opportunity. So my gathering is like that's the one of our sources of inspiration, because of the conversations you have with non-marketing folks. A lot of time that's part of the magic with the gathering, is that we're leaning into collaboration. Some of the folks are marketing and a lot of them are not. And it's kind of creating a holistic, example of what marketing should be.
Yeah, totally. Our hope
that answered your question.
Yeah, it does, I think. And I think it aligns with us as well. Like, I think the Gathering has always been really, really great at inspiring people. But the stories that we love to tell, like, it's hard to tell a story about, oh, we inspired these people. You should have seen how inspired they were. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
But what the stories we love to tell and the things that we often find ourselves talking about are like the partnerships that come out of it.
Totally.
NFL and Big Brothers and Big Sisters is one I always come back to. It's like, oh man, I'm so glad that we had a tiny, tiny role to play in a really good collaboration coming to life. And our goal for
how that happens, sorry to cut you off, how these things happen I've seen is that unlike most conferences, like there's an ethos or a theme for the year, but then you take all of the other agenda items out. So basically you're creating a sandbox and allowing people to play in it, versus you go to so many other events and there's a expectation of how people attend and what they do when they are there and that kind of thing. And so it kind of puts a constraint on the natural stuff that bubbles up.
Totally. Right? Yeah, totally. And I'd say that this year, more than any year in the past, our focus is on not over engineering, but like leaving enough space that those things happen naturally.
Yeah.
And I think as that occurs, we will move, the Gathering will, like, winning the future for us is we don't have a dog in the fight of the partnerships that happen out of it, the things that happen next. This is why we're getting a new studio. One of the reasons why we're getting a new studio. We don't have a dog in the fight of the things that happen next. Like, it's not like we have some sort of like finder's fee on partnerships or anything like that. What I think we would get lit up by, or what we are lit up by, is when the inspiration turns to action. I love talking to a guy like Brendan Arnold from Sherwood. Like, the guy has sat at the table, he's listened to the best of the best in North America, and he's becoming one of the best in North America because he's saying the path is proven in all these other brands, all these other businesses, and he's building it at Sherwood. That's his job. And it's so awesome to see somebody take inspiration and actually bring it to action. Not just leave feeling good, but to leave feeling empowered to go and do something different and take your brand to a place of permanence, really.
Totally. Another example is I think Catherine Dobbs and Jillian Frechette, New Jersey Devils, and so Catherine was obviously, they had the devastating, we had Johnny Gaudreau, and she's got to program this thing, and so she's leaning into her network established at the Gathering. Like, Jillian, another competing team, what would you do to make this best for the fans? And so they talked about that a little bit. I don't know. I just leaning into, if you knew based on this theme that instead of now a team of 5, whoever's on your team, you have a team of 5,000 and everyone is there ready to give the answer to the test.
Amazing.
Just lean into it, right?
Lean in
and test it. Maybe you're skeptical or hesitant. Go find a direct competitor there and just say, let's swap notes and see what happens, right? Because it's proven me right time and time again based on the relationships I've built there.
Yeah. Amen. That's such a great thought. What a good challenge. Go find your competitor at the Gathering.
Yeah.
Go for a drink.
And give them your answer key.
Yeah. Tell them everything you know. All your
because
secrets.
At the end of the day, we don't have any intellectual property. None of us do.
Such a fake idea.
Right? So it's like, I don't know.
That's my thought. You can't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so stupid. So same with trademark laws, I think.
Yeah. Same with client service contracts.
Yeah, totally.
Who cares?
Who cares?
Anyways.
Oh, Caleb, man, this is a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. So
appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for making this happen today. It's
love being with you, man.
Yeah. Anything that the people need to know from my end about you, about Hook and Ladder? Where can they find out more information?
hldigital.ca. I think the biggest news in Hook and Ladder's world right now is we're becoming pretty singular focused on unearthing the genius on teams within multi-location restaurant brands.
Cool.
So it's not that we don't love our other non-restaurant clients, but we're going to be a pretty focused group over the next 3 to 5 years. So.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm excited to see what comes out of it.
Awesome.
It's going to be good.
Appreciate it. Cool. Thanks, buddy.